Alright, so let's give it a read. This is Thousand Word Philosophy, an introductory anthology. Al-Ghazali's, is it Ghazali's? My Dream Argument for Skepticism. I apologize how I say all things not in basic English. By John Ramsey. Okay. Right now, you probably think that you're awake, that you're not asleep and dreaming. But do you know you aren't dreaming? French philosopher René Descartes famously asked a question like this at the beginning of his Meditations on First Philosophy. His answer was that since he couldn't be certain he wasn't dreaming, he didn't know that he wasn't dreaming, and since he didn't know that, none of the beliefs he gained from his senses amounted to knowledge. Oh my God, what are you gonna do? You don't know you're not dreaming. Okay. The use of dreams to question whether we have knowledge and motivate skepticism, the view that we lack knowledge, has a richer history than contemporary philosophers often acknowledge. Persian Muslim philosopher and legal scholar Abdul Hamid al-Ghazali, from 1058 to 1111, I guess that would be CE, employed dreams to raise skeptical concerns about knowledge more than 500 years before Descartes did. This essay explores the role of al-Ghazali's dream argument in his autobiographical Al-Munqidh min al-Dalal, or The Deliverance from Error, and how he uses it to raise doubts about whether we have any knowledge at all. Oh, so he's a Sufi. All right. Al-Ghazali's path to Sufism. 1. Al-Ghazali's intellectual journey through doubt. Al-Ghazali frames deliverance as a letter to an unnamed correspondent who has asked about Al-Ghazali's intellectual journey from doubt to certainty. Al-Ghazali begins his intellectual journey by recounting that, as a youth, he held with certainty many religious and cultural beliefs that he acquired from his Islamic upbringing. He began to doubt these beliefs when he realized that his beliefs differed from people who were raised Christian and Jewish. He wished to determine whether there was any truth to the beliefs routinely accepted in his community, and, if true, to know them with certainty. So he explains his steps towards regaining certainty. As a first step, al-Ghazali proposes and contemplates a standard that will help him tell whether he can know with certainty what he believes from his senses and from reason. So this is Mr. Ivan Neo's in. How do you know what's rational over here? How do you know with certainty what you can believe from your senses and reason? So al-Ghazali says, "Then it became clear to me that sure and certain knowledge is that in which the thing known is made so manifest that no doubt clings to it, nor is it accompanied by the possibility of error and deception, nor can the mind even suppose such a possibility." Okay, so Ivan's not going to be happy because Ivan likes the possibility of error. But al-Ghazali's not doing that sort of theory. Al-Ghazali's saying it doesn't even suppose any such possibility. Why? I don't know, but it just can't. So, al-Ghazali finds that many of his beliefs do not survive this test. Moreover, he begins to doubt his beliefs from sensory experiences because they are prone to error or correction from rational beliefs. The strongest of the senses is the sense of sight. Now, this looks at a shadow and sees it standing still and motionless and judges that motion must be denied. Then, due to experience and observation, an hour later, it knows that the shadow is moving. Sight also looks at a star and sees it as something small, the size of a dinar. You know, a dinar is a coin, I think, like a little small. Then geometrical proofs demonstrate that it surpasses the earth in size. In the case of this and similar instances of sense data, the sense judge makes its judgments, but the reason judge refutes it and repeatedly gives it the lie in an incontrovertible fashion. So that's interesting. He's used astronomical data, saying, because, you know, they may have had different words for stars and planets, but you can imagine that, like, you know, they knew of, like, Mars. And they could say, look, we can see the planet Mars, and it looks like a little coin, like in the sky, but they knew how far away it was, and they could say that thing must be gigantic for how big it is and how far away it is. So that's interesting. So you're saying, look, you know that you can't, that your rationality will tell you that you're wrong. Even what you're looking at can't be right due to rational things. And this is different from what Descartes says. Descartes has examples like a tower. He says you see what you think is a round tower off in the distance, say, oh, there's a round tower. You get closer to the tower, you say, oh, it's a square tower. You were mistaken about the roundness at first. You thought it was a round tower, and it's a square tower. That's not a question of rationality. That may be a question of interpretation of what you saw, or maybe your poor eyesight, but that's not a question of rationality. So this is a different sort of argument from skepticism, that your rational thought will contradict your senses. Okay, so al-Ghazali comes to doubt the certainty he earlier held regarding his sensory experiences. We have reasons to doubt that sensory experiences really represent reality because too often another sensory experience contradicts a prior experience, as happens when he observes the shadow an hour later, or our use of mathematical proofs or other scientific methodology, as is the case with al-Ghazali's example of a star, provides reason to doubt that our sensory experiences correspond to reality. I wonder if he was talking about the sun, not a star, in this. Because, the sun does look like, maybe coin-sized. If we were to look at it. Like, without burning your eyes out. Okay. Al-Ghazali's dream argument. Al-Ghazali next considers belief based on reason, what he calls primary truths, such as the belief that 10 is greater than 3, or the same claim cannot be simultaneously affirmed and denied. These beliefs do not fare any better than do beliefs from sensory experiences. To help his reader understand why, al-Ghazali personifies his senses so they can argue with him. The senses argue that since reason, which al-Ghazali believes to be a higher ability than sensory experiences, can be used to doubt sensory experiences, an even higher ability might be able to raise doubts about the beliefs of reason. So he's going meta level here. So as many levels you can always get a level above that and be like, well, I can see even more rational than you, and that the rationality that this thought was being used at is inferior. Ivan says, seems like a question of rationality to me. Questions of probability rather than binary distinctions of totally reliable versus totally unreliable. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. There was no probability. It did not exist at this time. It was not invented or discovered for hundreds of years. So there is no probability here. But al-Ghazali is going meta level, which is still very interesting. So it's like still looking at it from a higher perspective, not probabilistic or looking at all the different situations, but you're still getting one higher level of abstraction up, some higher ability to look down on our reasoning that 10 is greater than 3, and somehow saying, well, look, maybe if we had different rules to mathematics, that wouldn't hold anymore. And you can do that. I don't suggest, you can look into, weird views on mathematics, and maybe you can. And you can also do that with, logic, where you can have logics where you can both affirm and deny something at the same time. And it doesn't just reduce to triviality. So we can do this nowadays with modern techniques, but, at least back in the day, they could theorize that these things might be possible to do without, being wrong, or just obviously wrong. At least still might be wrong, just maybe not obviously wrong. Yeah. So and I know some people who work on these sorts of meta theories where truth and falsity can sometimes overlap. And there was one guy out of Iran that was looking at all these examples where someone actually was denying certain things where 5 could be an even number or something like that and 4 would be odd. How could 4 be an odd number and 5 be an even number? And so you can look at these sorts of weird things and then try to work a way that it would actually make some sense. Now, is this a good idea to be doing? Probably not very useful. But if you can figure out how the difference is between the systems work, then you will understand something about how the mathematical and logical systems work. So, this has a long history of people looking at even mathematical truths and trying to find ways around them. And so like they said, this is from 1,000 years ago. 1,000 years ago, people are starting to ask, can you have weird views about where 10 is less than 3, not 10 being greater than 3. Yeah, so maybe at God level viewpoints, it might not be the same thing. 10 and 3 might look very different at that point. Hey, Pink Lady, hope you're doing well. Having a good day. Okay, in this imagined debate, we're reading a short paper for anyone who just came in. This is a 1,000-word philosophy. Just throw this. And like this one is called 1,000-Word Philosophy, and these are less than 1,000 words, or less than or equal to 1,000-word papers, just presenting some small argument. And so it was just in the Daily News. They're asking for what topics are missing, so I just grabbed one, and it'll be done in like a few minutes, because there's just not a whole lot more to it. It's only 1,000 words. And this one's on an old dream argument, like Descartes doubting reality, but this is one from al-Ghazali from like the year 1000 or something, so it's 500 years before Descartes. Okay, so in this imagined debate, al-Ghazali's sensory experiences strengthen their argument by appealing to an analogy with dreaming. When dreaming, we believe with certainty that what we're dreaming is true, but we wake up and realize those dream beliefs are untrue. So by analogy, if we were to have a third type of experience, one that was neither dreaming nor waking experience, we could doubt the beliefs we normally have while waking. Yeah, so we'd have to come out of the matrix and then realize the matrix thoughts were just the dream thoughts. Having this third type of experience would be similar to waking from a dream. We would be waking up to a higher reality. So yeah, this is like the 13th floor, or waking up from being inside the Matrix when like Neo wakes up and like Morpheus is there and is like, welcome to the real world. So this is like waking up to a higher reality. The things you thought were true in the Matrix really weren't, and like that would make our current experience a dream world. Much later in Deliverance, al-Ghazali returns to a discussion of the possibility of this third type of experience. He proposes that we all do have an ability that goes beyond reason, the ability of prophecy. Although most of us do not recognize these experiences as such, Sufis, Islamic mystics, as well as the prophets, are masters of these states through their devotional practices. Al-Ghazali calls such experiences fruitional experiences, and through them we have an intimate relationship with Allah, and that's God. Given the perfections of Allah, especially that He is all-knowing and all-good, one's fruitional experiences of Allah provide certainty to many of our sensory and rational beliefs. In other words, according to al-Ghazali, one knows once one has fruitional experiences of Allah. So yeah, so you can gain an experience that this world is like the dream world through your fruitional experience, which is like a wake up, and then you can look down on like your dream and see what's right and what isn't. Yeah, Ivan Neo says, wake up to a higher reality. Exactly. Even if one doesn't accept the existence of Allah or fruitional experience, one can still raise doubts about the certainty we associate with reason and self-evident truths, because we can entertain the possibility of a higher ability through the analogy that al-Ghazali's personified senses offer the reader. Conclusion. At the start of Deliverance from Error, al-Ghazali raises a number of skeptical concerns about the nature of knowledge to cast doubt on beliefs that at first glance appear to be certain. In the rest of the letter, al-Ghazali recounts his study of various disciplines: rational theology, Aristotelian philosophy, Ismailism, don't know what that is, Sufism. None of these disciplines except for Sufism enable al-Ghazali to overcome the doubts he raised with his dream argument. Ivan Neo says, Zoe's basically pulling a Descartes. Can't tell what's real, but my religion just magically solves the problem. Exactly, Ivan. It seems that's exactly what al-Ghazali is doing. But 500 years before Descartes is saying, hey, look, God guarantees this, but it's there's a little twist here. It's not that just God guarantees, because God wouldn't be fooling me. Like, God is not a deceiver. That's what Descartes says. Just God's not doing that. This one says you have experiences at the higher level through religious experience, yes, but that says you can have these fruitional experiences. So there is something you are actually doing, or you can possibly do through your practice of like studying religion or having the right sort of, disposition, that you can actually see the way the world actually is. So this is Sufism is sort of a mysticism, which is in general, I'm not saying this about Sufism specifically, but any sort of mysticism is saying you have a privileged view of reality. And so then once you are in that, then you get a better view of reality. You can tell what's true and false. And that's what's happening here. You can have these certain experiences, and then you get to see the way the world is correct. You can correctly see that, and so I guess you could maybe even have a meta experience of that, But I would assume that like all the way, like the ones you start having that are above our everyday experiences have more, truth to them. Because it would be like, we can look back at our dreams and say what was right and what's wrong. And then like the fruitional experiences can look back at our waking life and say what is right and wrong. So it's not exactly that God guarantees it, but that you can have, mystical experiences that guarantee the existence of the world. And slightly different, still religiously flavored, but there's more that we can do about it here because, these are experiences we can do. And, if you work at this, you can be a master of these states. So, like, you could get better at it. So there's something to be done, which is not what Descartes says. Descartes just gets it, whole hog from God not being a deceiver. Yeah, so, like, yeah, if you work on your devotional practices, Ivan, then you can see the world correctly. That's what you should be doing. And you can forget all that science stuff, your Bayesian epistemology, devotional practices. That's what you need to work on. Okay, so this fun little paper, I mean, it's just going over the dream argument of different variety than we're used to seeing because it's not, Descartes' meditations. Let's see, I mean, there's more notes here than, like, there's only almost 50% more notes. So it's like, that's it. Like, that's... But I mean, it's 1,000-word philosophy. Did they get their argument out in the 1,000 words? I think so. Oh, yeah. Ivan just needs to get his chakras aligned? Yeah, Unreal Brian. That's true. He's just got his chakras misaligned. And, you get, like, one of those chakra adjusters you see on, like, TV ads late night. You should just get one of those. Yeah, so 1596 is Descartes to 1650. You do know Descartes died because he had to wake up early. Like, that killed him. And then Abu Hamid al-Ghazali is 1058 to 1111. So, full 500 years earlier. And more, just more. So, yeah, so fun little paper. Anybody have any questions, concerns about this? But, like, again... Question is, like, us compared to the dreaming, is there something else that we could do that would, make it that, like, this would appear to be the dream to us? Maybe. Or is that just sort of like this fantasy? Is, like, our current rationality the best we got? And then, anything else that would make you think that might be an illusion. It might be the some evil demon trying to fool you into thinking that that you now see the world right, like a false prophet or something. Some evil demon trying to fool you into thinking, oh, this is the way the world is, when it really isn't that way. I don't know, because, like, you can take drugs and, like, this is one of the things. People take, like, psychedelics, and then all of a sudden they think they see the world right. Now, the question is, what are the psychedelics doing? Are they good for you, or are they, like, screwing your brain up, and then all of a sudden you're confused about how the world is? I don't know. But I'm partial to thinking that, people try psychedelics, they get a different perspective on the world, and then they reapply that to what they think. Now, do they think that the psychedelic experience is the right way the world is? I don't think that's actually what they believe, but sometimes they take something from the experience that they understand is true. And so, again, is that a higher level than regular experience? Some religious people think, like, the proper use of, like, psychedelic substances is going to be an assistant in that sort of thing. But again, that's a limited viewpoint. It's not a like, oh, you're just getting the perfect viewpoint and you can just be there and see the world correctly. It's that you take the drug and then you get, like, some sort of insight, which is not exactly the same. Okay, so let's do a little review. If anyone wants to do the review, remember, like, these are the review stuff. Was this a fun little essay? You say yay or nay. You can give it a few yays or nays if you think it was better. Was there anything, like, super fun about this? Was it a fun idea? Then you give it a brain dance. You can see the text on the right. You have to copy the text pretty accurately. I have to fix this paper up. The grapes, did they make some big claim that shriveled up? I don't really think so. Maybe this had a fun idea. This wasn't navel gazing. Gazing is only for academics. It's actually public philosophy, so this is not really that. Is this some deep ancient mystery? I mean, this is a very quick little essay. Not sure it qualifies as some big idea. Existential artistic drama? Like, what's it mean to be alive? Maybe a little bit. We'll talk about that. Ivan Neal says, yay. Is it a all style, no substance? All style, no substance, the golden turd? Not really. It was like, presented an argument, done. And was it a knife? Slice and dice arguments. It was a short little argument. It was a, cute. There was nothing wrong with it. So I was like, this is just going to get a brain dance and a yay from me. That's all it is. I don't think there's a whole lot else to say. Is it big and deep? Not really. Nothing's deep here. I mean, it's easily recognizable. This, and it's going to get a vote yay. I have to fix this up. But thank you for voting, Ivan. Anyone else? Of course, all the emotes are Better TTV emotes. You can just install the extension if you want, or you can copy the text you see on screen. So you don't have to be subscribed or nothing like that, to the channel to get the emotes. But yeah, so cute little paper, fun ideas, but that's kind of what this 1,000-word, philosophy site is about. Get a bite-sized, little bit of philosophy, and, so it's like an introductory, they were calling it, what was that? Like introductory anthology. That's what they were calling this thing. So, let's see. Is there anything else like super interesting about this? I mean, meh. Let's see. I've been tired today, and I was thinking, I got to redo this scene where I want a countdown timer, so you get like an obvious 2 minutes to review it in, and that'd be one thing. To do. Also, I want to add vote yay and vote nay to this screen. I don't want to make the text too small for people that are on like smaller screens to see, but whatever. But yeah. Okie dokie. That's it. Everyone, you get like another few seconds. But, yeah. It's not bad. So, yeah, I guess, like, it's true. They just, in the note, they says, everyone's asking for absolute certainty. How do you actually get something that hardcore, where it's like you can be absolutely certain about stuff? Like, that's really difficult. So, okay, I don't know how people actually get, I mean, I have absolute certainty, but, like, everyone else is saying, like, you can't be mistaken about all this stuff, and, like, most of the things in this world we can be mistaken about. Most of them.